Okay, so we're going to tackle some pretty serious subjects in today's video, and I've got a couple of confessions to make. Oh! I came across this video of these posh twats discussing the source of knife crime, the root cause, the essence, the je ne sais quoi of the blade. And I thought it was absolutely hilarious. Them talking about knife crime, not actual knife crime. That's not hilarious.
You're right. I mean, obviously, you're completely right about this, and the horror of knife crime, which takes so many lives, destroys families. I do think we need to look at its source.
Dang, Owen Jones, you know what? You're right. So simple, yet so ingenious. Why didn't Scotland Yard ever think of that? Look at the source. You know what, Owen? I think you're the man for the job. You need to infiltrate a gang of street thugs.
How do you do, fellow kids?
You can work out what is the main reason they're all shanking each other up all the time. You will report back to us in 6 months' time with your findings. Here is your stab-proof hoodie, your urban dictionary, and your train ticket to Brixton. Godspeed, Owen!
About a quarter of those who carry a knife.
Careful there, Owen. You're going to get yourself cancelled. We don't need to know what a quarter of them of people who carry knives. We don't read those kinds of stats. They're not helpful. Okay.
About a quarter of those who carry a knife were expelled from their school.
Oh. I guess I kind of jumped the gun there. Kind of makes me look a bit, which I'm not.
And the danger with expulsions is people often branded with, we're done with you now. That's it. Society has decided we're not going to have anything to do with you.
Yeah, Owen Jones gets it. He's watched his Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He knows that all these kids need are the right set of circumstances. They'll all be Princeton graduates. That's what's happening. They get expelled from school and they're like, man, fuck society. I'm going to stab everyone.
There is also the problem that a lot of young people didn't have love when they grew up, and gangs fill in that vacuum. There's a sense of you belong, you're one of us. Carrying a knife is a status symbol there.
Good God, Owen, infiltrate those gangs post-haste for the good of society. You could give those disaffected young men all the love they've been lacking all their lives. All those abandoned Romuluses and Remuses just waiting to suckle at your teat. Not literally. Go, Owen, go! Be the wolf mother to the new empire.
There. And I think...
And structure as well, which reflects back to talking about religion, that very often there's a gang structure which replaces a family or
I can hear you all now, typing away in the comments. She's right, Nietzsche said, God is dead, and what do we replace God with? I get it, we live in a godless, demonic age. Yes, I agree, but... there is still something hilarious to me about a woman with an accent like that telling the filthy proletariat what's wrong. It's the gang structure. It's replaced religion and the family. She's well-intentioned and everything, but, I think we're beyond that point of organising a fun run with the Gideon's Bible lot. Lock 'em up and give 'em soma. Drugs and video games, that's how they're going to deal with these thugs. AI will sort it out, don't worry. That can be our new god.
That very often there's a gang structure which replaces a family or another structure.
Particularly if there's not a father figure or in the home.
But, I know they're essentially right, that it's a lack of structure in kids' lives that turn them into antisocial maniacs, psychopaths that are all running around stabbing each other. Obviously they're right, but it's just kind of funny that these people have never come into contact with anything like this. They've never come within a mile of a stabbing. It's just very funny to listen to them talking about the solutions, and they're only parroting. They don't really know. They're not really thinking about what they're saying.
But a lot of it's bored. It was at youth services as well. I mean, over £1 billion has been slashed from our youth services since 2010. It's about 3/4 of youth services gone. And I just worry as well, you get a lot of bored teenagers in a society, especially in London. It's such an expensive place to live. It's very difficult to do fun things. And again, you just get these gangs which fill the vacuum and kind of add to it.
I also worry about...
They do fill the vacuum, those gangs, don't they? It's the fact that they keep shutting down these youth centres where they had ping pong tables and table football and the little disc hockey games, if you were lucky. I mean, those were what were stopping them all stabbing each other. They need more air hockey. That's what we need, Owen. I get his point, you know. I understand that we need to find some meaning in these kids' lives, but I'm not going to pretend to know what the answer is, like these ani are, and that's what they are, they're ani. This kind of leads me to my own little anecdote about carrying a knife, and it's something I only realised a few years ago. I'm in my mid-30s now, and I don't know what it was, because I can't remember what triggered the memory, but somebody had a penknife, I think, and I was like, oh, cool penknife, and I had one just like that. As a teenager, I said to this person, and I was thinking, yeah, you know, I'd carry it with me everywhere, and then I started thinking about how I used to carry a penknife everywhere. And I mean everywhere. I took it to school every day, and it was just in my bag, and I just thought it was this really cool thing. I would show it to people at school. I don't know if anyone remembers this. I don't know if anyone from school watches any of these videos, but does anybody remember me carrying that fat red penknife around? And I never once thought, it never even occurred to me, I didn't even think about, could I use that in a self-defense situation? I just carried the penknife because I thought it's kind of cool. It's got like a fish scale and a magnifying glass. I never thought I was carrying a lethal weapon in my bag to school every day. I was risking my life, essentially. Things could have turned out very different if you know, a teacher had ever discovered that I was coming to school armed every single day. Unbeknownst to myself, it seriously never crossed my mind. So that's my silly confession that I have to make. I just kind of think it's funny that I used to walk around with a knife everywhere. And, of course, an adult, if they'd have found me, would have assumed I was a violent thug looking to shank somebody up, but I wasn't. So I'm pretty well qualified to talk on this, I think. I was very much involved in this street culture, as you can tell by my mannerisms and so on and so forth. That is probably the most autistic anecdote I have. Just in not understanding social situations and norms at all. You can't carry a knife to school. Anyway, the point of this video was just essentially, I think anyone who tries to reduce, say, something as complicated as violent crime, knife crime, down to one particular variable, anyone who tries to do that is a twat! No, I'm joking. I understand they're on a talk show. They have to get their point across in a sort of hyperbolic, effective way very quickly that has to fall in line with all of their followers on social media. So Owen Jones has to say, it's a lack of air hockey. It's because of the Tory cuts. That's why everyone's stabbing each other to death. Or, you know, the more posh people sort of had to go, it's a lack of God and the family structure. It's to do with a lot of things. It's too complicated. You would never hear me trying to, you know, set the world right. I'm just here to watch it burn. Here's one thing I will say. I don't think you can reduce things to anything, but two things I'm going to say. One, you can't get rid of violent crime completely. There's always going to be an amount of it. You can get very close, you know, like Japan, where it's extremely rare. Here are the places I've lived. I've lived in the UK, and I lived there till I was 19, and I've lived here for the last 14 years in northern Spain. Well, I'm not actually in northern Spain at the moment, but that's not the point. I've lived in northern Spain for the last 14 years. And in Spain, everyone thinks, the Spanish people think they've got a problem with rising crime and delinquency and everything. And I compare it to England, which is far worse. It's a far more dangerous country. It's just palpable. You're walking through the streets in certain areas of a city like Sheffield, where I'm from, and it's kind of, you know, certain hours of the night. I can put my finger on a lot of things that I think would lead to less violent crime. I think there are certain things about the way England is built literally the way it's built, the way we build outwards, build our houses at ground level and build out into the surrounding countryside of a city. I think that makes us more isolated. It means that criminals, people who have psychopathic tendencies, are less inhibited. I would not just say that living in flats stops everyone stabbing each other. I do have a few theories. Living in England, I noticed that going out on Friday and Saturday nights, English people have a strange relationship with alcohol. and it's not just that we don't know how to drink, it's because the country is set up for us to drink a certain way. I'll briefly explain this as quickly as I can. In England, you go out on a Friday or a Saturday night, and in a city like Sheffield, which has got 600,000 people, there's a couple of different areas for going out. But essentially, you've got everyone from the age of 18 to 30, maybe 40, all in the same area of a city, all in the same bars, that all close at the same time before the massive 4 or 5 clubs in the town open. And they don't admit entry after a certain time, which is the same time for most of the clubs. So this is a situation on a Friday, Saturday night in Sheffield. You've got thousands of young people drinking like mad in a place that's packed, a couple of streets that are just packed with people. And they're all thinking the same thing. It's Friday, Saturday night. We've got to drink as much as we can here because the drinks are cheaper here than they are in the club. And we need to do it before 10:30 because we've got to get to the club because they don't let you in after 11 o'clock and there's a long queue and do we have the queue jump and whatever. So everyone's getting absolutely battered in these bars that either chuck you out at 12, which means everyone leaves at the same time, or you have to leave at about 10:30 to get to the club. You get to the club, 500 battered people are all in a small space or a chicken coop together. The lights come on at 3 in the morning. Everyone's completely hammered out of their mind. Everyone pours out onto the street and starts getting into fights over taxis and kebabs. And then if you walk away from that, you have to walk through a dark city centre where all of the shops are, of course, closed because it's 3, 4 in the morning. But what's above the shops? Office spaces, which are also closed. No one's in them. Storage spaces for the shops, which are all closed. The lights are off. You compare that to where I live in Spain, where we don't have the same levels of violent crime at all. I mean, it's ridiculously safe. I mean, it really just doesn't exist. I know people come to Spain and they go to Madrid and Barcelona, which are very safe if you compare them to London or a big city in England. They're very safe. But you get pickpockets, you get muggings and things like that. Where I live is a city with just under 300,000 people. And you go out on a Friday, Saturday night, until midnight, there are kids running around in the street playing football while their parents and grandparents have dinner or are having a drink together on a street terrace or in the restaurant. And they'll be sat in the same bar as a group of teenagers doing the same thing. And there's no closing times. There are no closing times. It's until the last client leaves, essentially. Some bars have closing times. That's a bit of an exaggeration. But there are literally hundreds of bars in my city that you can go out to on a Friday, Saturday night, almost any night really, but particularly on a Friday or Saturday, and you can go out until 6, 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning. There's no time limit. You don't have to rush. It doesn't matter, right? What time you go home, which bar you go to, which area of the city you go to, because there's just bars everywhere. And everybody lives very close to the centre because we build upwards in Spain instead of outwards, right? And everyone wants to live close to the centre. So if you're going to stab someone or put someone in the face or steal or make any kind of commotion, 100 people are going to see you at any time of the night. It really doesn't matter. If you make a noise outside in Spain, immediately all the lights of a building are just going to come out and come on. Everyone's going to come to the balcony to see what's going on. It's it's not as easy to be a psychopath in Spain, is what my point is. And I'm not saying that. What's my diagnosis? England needs to be raised to the ground, and we need to build flats and have street terraces and take our grandparents out for a glass of wine, right? I don't know. It's just, it is what it is, and all of these people pretending that you can change all of that. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Anyway, rant over, I guess. See, I got nowhere. Imagine if I was on one of these TV shows and I had like 60 seconds to get my point across. They'd never invite me back. I'll see you in the next one.